and we wish them the best of luck.
We certainly do. We have some weather that we definitely need to get to right now. Let's turn it over to Dan Russell. Dan?
Yeah, Claudine, as expected, active weather here for the southern tier and that potential for a tornado. And just within the last couple of seconds, we do now have a tornado warning that has been issued. You can see this red polygon here right in the central portion of Cattaraugus County. I do have what's called storm relative velocity. So what we're looking at here is wind direction. And if you remember, we've been covering these tornado warnings throughout this spring. Green represents air that is moving towards the radar site. Red represents air that's moving away from the radar site. So you can kind of see that little couplet just south of Ellicottville just made its way through Great Valley, crossing the 219 there. Again, we have enough of a couplet. This is where we did have already a severe thunderstorm warning that was in place. But again, you get these little spin ups here. So if you are watching upstream, certainly take cover, find that sheltered room indoors away from any windows and possibly get to the lowest level of your house. Again, especially areas upstream here as this storm is pushing to the northeast at a pretty good clip. We continue to watch this right here as well, not in our viewing area, not quite in western New York yet, but we still have this tornado warning with this particular little couplet that's riding right along the 90 here, right through Erie, Pennsylvania at the moment. If that cell does hold together, wouldn't be surprised if we see some more activity here, especially to the southwestern corner of Chautauqua County, but at least here at the moment, again, just south of Ellicottville, there's that little couplet that did have prompt the National Weather Service to now issue this tornado warning. And you can kind of see as we look kind of broad brushing the watches and warnings here. So we have those active warnings. The rest of the southern tier and even some portions of southern Erie County, Wyoming County, we are under that flood watch. These storms are producing some very heavy rain. So not only the potential for severe weather, but flooding potential is there. And again, a severe thunderstorm watch for some of those areas. For the city itself, just a little bit of light rain. All the active weather continues to be south, and it's within this blob, if you will. So if you're watching, say, in and around Franklinville, that is where that circulation is heading. It's not a very well-defined circulation on the radar here, but you can certainly see frequent cloud-to-ground lightning. We've been getting some reports of almost continuous cloud-to-ground lightning out of this cell. It has had a history of producing small hail, roughly about an inch size. That's quarter-size hail, so not even small hail, moderate-size hail for you. And again, this storm is moving to the northeast at a pretty good clip. So whether it's Franklinville and eventually into areas of Allegheny County, that is where that storm is heading, traveling a little bit around. We're also tracking scattered showers, thunderstorms moving through McKean County. We've had a tornado warning south of this area that continues. We'll have to keep an eye on some of those storms as they also continue to lift to the northeast and will likely clip those counties there in northern Pennsylvania. And this is that cell that, again, just made its way through Erie, Pennsylvania. This is the cell that did prompt that tornado warning that we continue to track, especially in Erie, Pennsylvania. There's some of the hail signature that we have seen out of these storms. Again, especially just around Jamestown and just south, easily even seen some pictures of hail that's almost ping pong ball size hail as this storm has made its way. It's not quite producing that hail, but once again, if you are just tuning in, we do have a tornado warning that has been issued for areas of Cattaraugus County. So kind of zooming back out there for you. And I really like to look at this. This is the velocity. This lets us know where we actually do have the potential for some of that rotation. And again, this is where we have that tornado warning in place with that storm, again, making its way to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. There's some of the general watches. But as we get back to these velocities here, you can see that little couplet right here. And this is what, as a meteorologist, we look for when we're potentially seeing any kind of rotation. It is right here. And again, there's Ellicottville. So just south of Ellicottville, heading towards Franklinville. That's where we have a very weak rotation, but it is rotation nonetheless, potentially producing a weak tornado. Even if it's not producing a weak tornado, this particular storm has had a history of producing damaging wind gusts, bringing tree limbs down. So whether it's straight line winds or tornado winds, we are seeing some damage out of this cell. And again, we continue to watch that coupler right there where we have another tornado warning that is in place for areas in and around Erie, Pennsylvania. So yeah, it is setting up to be quite active here over the next couple of hours. We got Jen also taking a look at this. So what are you seeing, Jen?
We've been following this for the last hour closely. We've been watching these storm cells, and we were noticing on that relative vorticity a little bit of rotation, and it has tightened. So that's why that tornado warning was just recently issued for central Cattaraugus County as it continues to shift off to the east and northeast. And yes, we're closely keeping an eye on that one near Erie, Pennsylvania, as we've been also tracking and talking about over the last hour on air. Now, note, we still have that severe thunderstorm watch for all of at least the southern tier counties, northern Pennsylvania, until 10 p.m. So the next several hours, we're going to continue to monitor conditions. They are ripe, a lot of instability in place, and some of that shear to get a little rotation going. So we're continuing to monitor this, that severe thunderstorm warning as well, and that tornado warning for Cattaraugus County. So as we zoom in here, we're going to take you through this and further show you that tornado warning continuing until 6 p.m. this evening for, as you can see, that cell. That decent storm cell that we've been tracking for the last probably about the last 20 minutes or so, as we continue to see it intensify, it has showed some weakening and then re-intensification. So that's why we're closely continuing to track this one, as it is still tapping into some very much instability across the southern tier. So that's why it still has some juice, as we say, still capable of producing hail, large hail. We've already had a history of this storm cell of about a quarter size hail, and also storm reports coming out for some wind damage, knocking some trees over, and now potentially that tornado that could also produce additional wind damage. So you can see it's continuing to shift right near Franklinville, just northeast of Great Valley. That's where we're getting to the highest reflectivity there, as you can see, right over Ashford as well. Some heavy downpours, probably some hail out of this as well, and damaging winds. So wanted to show you, as we've been talking about, that relative velocity. So green toward the radar, red away. So we get that rotation there, and it's you can see it's brightening. So tightening a little bit right along the 98 there. So just between Ellicottville down the 219 Great Valley, just east of there is where we're seeing that potential tornado. So note that if you are traveling around there, do not go in that area, just in case, as we are continuing to monitor that tornado warning for that portion of Cattaraugus County. So here we'll put a tracker on this as it continues to move off to the east. So it's just heading into Franklinville. We're also going to see some heavy rain in Machias out of this. And if it holds together, it will continue to move into western Allegheny County. So places like Cuba into Belfast, Amity, we'll continue to keep an eye on this as well. And here's that other storm cell we're continuing to monitor near Erie, Pennsylvania, as it does continue to track eastward. Still looking at some damaging winds out of that, even it does weaken a little bit and head into western Chautauqua County. French Creek, Ripley in the path of that storm, some hail out of that, damaging winds, very heavy rain, which could lead to some flash flooding. But of course, we are monitoring conditions. That tornado safety tip reminder: get to a low level interior room, stay away from windows, wear sturdy shoes, cover your head, do not stay in a car or mobile home, and never try to outrun a tornado. So Dan, we're continuing to track that tornado warning across Cattaraugus County, and also potentially some other severe storms moving through.
Yeah, we continue to track this live tornado warning for at least, it goes through 6 p.m., so at least for another 14 minutes. And it gets this particular storm that is making its way through portions of Cattaraugus County, where we have seen radar-confirmed rotation. So a very well likely weak tornado out of this storm cell. And again, what we are taking a look at these relative velocities, and you could really kind of almost pinpoint where the potential tornado would be when you look at this. So there's the village of Ellicottville. So this is south and east of Ellicottville. You can really see it right there. There's the green moving towards the radar site, red moving away from the radar site. So that's the couplet area where potentially we have one spin in the atmosphere. And if that spin makes its way down to the surface, ultimately that ends up in a tornado. And you can see again, this is heading towards Franklinville. So if you're watching in and around Franklinville, yeah, conditions are going to deteriorate big time. Play it safe, take cover. Not the kind of storm you want to get out, take videos or picture of. Again, be safe, find that interior room away from any windows, lowest level of your house, and especially for areas in and around Ellicottville, Route 16 corridor here. That is where that potential circulation is heading. Now, as we kind of expand out, I do want to continue to show you this, because this could potentially end up with another tornado warning across portions of western New York. Not at the moment, and I do want to mention this, it is showing some signs of weakening here, but we do have this tornado warning into areas of Erie, Pennsylvania, Erie County here, and you can see a little bit of that rotation as well, although not quite as strong of a signature compared to what we were seeing just a little bit ago. We'll see if that continues to weaken or potentially re-strengthens, and if this warning polygon is extended into areas of Chautauqua County here over the next little bit. But as we do kind of take a look at the general watches and active warnings, you can see again the 2 tornado warnings that we're tracking here. Also, look at this into central Pennsylvania. This is a storm we'll have to keep an eye out for areas of McKean and Potter counties, because we're also tracking a tornado warning here and a severe thunderstorm warning. So we'll have to see if that storm holds together as well to northern Pennsylvania. So yeah, the next couple of hours, it is going to be active, especially for these areas of the southern tier, northern Pennsylvania. So along with the active warnings, we do have a general severe thunderstorm watch for these counties shaded in pink. That is through this evening. And also the green. These storms are producing a lot of heavy rain. So even where we're not dealing with potential damage being produced by hail, wind, a potential weak tornado, we're also dealing with a lot of potential flooding rain, and this is in an area that already had flooding issues going back to last week. So that is something, we do not have any flood warnings at the moment, but that is something we'll continue to monitor as well. So let's get to this live radar. In and around the city, just a few light rain showers. Again, all this activity well to the south. Now the good news, while we are seeing that rotation out of this cell, the general radar imagery not quite as impressive as what it was looking all that long ago. Although what happens as these storms, as they weaken, if they have any kind of rotation, as they weaken, a lot of times as they do so, that's when that rotation actually drops to the surface. So again, that's why we do have that tornado warning in place. Again, just a lot of also very heavy rain. And this cell is moving over some areas that did have some flooding issues a couple of times going back to last week. So I did put the tracker on there for you. And again, it is moving pretty much through Franklinville at the moment. It'll be making its way towards Rushford by 5:59 and eventually into areas of central and northern Allegheny County, southern Livingston County here as we get further into the 6 o'clock hour. That tornado warning, it is in place through 6 o'clock. Now, as we get into areas of McKean, Potter counties here, this where we are tracking some scattered thunderstorms, especially now into southern McKean County. That's where we did have a severe thunderstorm warning in place. Not too far away, that tornado warning I did show you. And then here's the cell, again, that did issue that tornado warning, made its way through Erie, pretty much now making its way into northeast Pennsylvania, and it will be crossing the border here momentarily. So areas in and around Ripley, conditions are going to deteriorate pretty quickly, whether it's strong gusty winds or that potential tornado warning. I wouldn't be surprised if either does get extended into that area. We have seen, again, hail out of this, and as I put the hail tracks on there for you, you could really see that we've seen upwards of an inch-sized hail. I've even seen some pictures for areas in and around Jamestown, and yeah, about that size hail, not too far from ping pong ball size hail, just south of Jamestown, as that particular storm cell did make its way through. But again, you can kind of see the general motion. For Buffalo, we'll have a few more light rain showers here later this evening, but all this heavier weather, it is going to remain across areas of the southern tier, northern Pennsylvania, and once this batch does move on out, things are going to settle down pretty quickly here as we head towards tonight and really the rest of the week. In fact, here is Future Look. I want to track these storms for you and let you know how long they're going to be sticking around. And again, you can really see it's doing a good job of, one, picking up the location, but also the timing here. And you can see how quickly. So as we get towards 7, and especially by 7:30, any heavier weather is now moving out of Western New York. We're still going to have some leftover showers at this point, but I do not anticipate any thunderstorms, if you will, at that point. So things do settle down, all leading to what should be several relatively uneventful days as we go through this week. So we were worried about this going back to last week, that it was going to turn out to be an active afternoon and evening. And of course, we are seeing that as we kind of cycle back through all these graphics for you. I want to get back to that relative velocity one more time, and just like that, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued there. Kind of coming back to this, that is just being updated live on air. A new severe thunderstorm warning for northern Chautauqua County. That is that cell that made its way through Erie, Pennsylvania, with the tornado warning, which is still in place as of right now. No tornado warning for Chautauqua County, but a severe thunderstorm warning as that storm does move in. Could also see, again, damaging wind gusts, small hail out of that that storm as it pretty much rides along the 90 here over the next little bit. And again, we do still have this tornado warning in place for areas of Cattaraugus County here for about another 7 minutes for this active tornado warning. Now, here is the latest velocity. And if you remember, just going back a few minutes ago, good sign here, we're really not seeing that couplet quite as strong. We don't really have those bright greens, so that's that airflow towards the radar sites. Still got some pretty good red here, so still getting some decent straight line winds, but really not seeing that couplet, if you will, that circulation in the atmosphere as strong as what it was just a little bit ago. Nonetheless, we do still have a few more minutes of this tornado warning. And again, it is heading towards Franklinville, where we did have that circulation. And as I expand out to also this tornado warning, doesn't look quite as impressive there as that storm. And that's probably one of the reasons why we didn't see that tornado warning issued and the severe thunderstorm warning issued instead for northern Chautauqua County. Keep in mind what can happen with these storms is they can pulse. They can weaken, we can lose that rotation, but then the next moment they decide to kind of gain steam again, and once again do pick up that rotation. So while it is showing some signs of weakening both cells, something to keep in mind. We could see some of this rotation make a return here over the next little bit. But yeah, areas of the southern tier certainly dealing with some very active weather. Jen, how are you seeing things?
Yeah, Dan, we're continuing to track, again, that additional warning now, as you can see, across portions of northern Chautauqua County. And we checking on a possible, again, tornado across central Cattaraugus County. There's still that warning on it, and it was seeing some rotation, radar indicated, with that thunderstorm. And also we were showing that on the relative velocity, that tightening of that, possible tornado, although it is showing some weakening, at least radar indicated. But there's that tornado warning continuing until 6 p.m. That's for central Cattaraugus County. It is slowly, this storm cell, moving to the northeast at just 15 miles per hour. So it is headed toward, as you can see, Franklinville, also under that tornado warning. And there it is right now, the bulk of it heading through there. Also some pretty heavy rain through Machias, and this continues as we put a tracker on it, heading to the, as I said, east-northeast at about 15 miles per hour. So it's moving very slowly, but it is heading right on into that northeastern corner of Cattaraugus County, into that northwestern corner of Allegheny County. So heads up for those of you there in the path of the storm. Even if we see this weakening some, we're going to get some damaging winds potentially out of this in excess of 60 miles per hour with those winds. And also some very large hail, even quarter-sized hail. We've gotten reports as that storm system continues to shift across Cattaraugus County and heading into Allegheny County. So there, as we put that tracker on it, these are some of the communities being impacted. Let's zoom in. There's that relative vorticity, and we are still seeing a little bit of that rotation, as you can see, as it heads right into Franklinville. So heed the warning. Tornado warning does continue. If you're right along the 98, the 16 there in the Franklinville area, even the 242, you don't want to be in this area. And also get in a sturdy shelter, interior rooms, into a basement if you can, just to be safe, as we still are watching some radar indication on that relative velocity of potentially a tornado. But as this continues to shift over now, you can see some heavy rain as you head into Farmersville. And also we're continuing to monitor, as you can see, this tornado warning that continues for Erie, Pennsylvania, although it looks like that has not been extended into, as you can see, Cattaraugus, into Chautauqua County. We're continuing to see now a severe thunderstorm warning associated with that for at least portions of northern Chautauqua. And so we are going to continue to, as you can see here, show that. So it's highlighted here. This is actually a severe thunderstorm warning here indicated by the yellow for northern Chautauqua County. That includes Westfield, Sherman, and also into Charlotte. So we're going to see still some damaging winds potentially out of this, and also some large hail. So we're continuing to monitor that. Here's again that reminder of tornado safety tips. You get to a low level interior room, basements, and stay away from windows, and don't want to be in a car or mobile home. So Dan, I know you got an update on some of the severe weather continuing with these weather alerts as well.
Absolutely, Jen. In fact, we now have, by the National Weather Service, a confirmed tornado as this storm did cross the 219 in and around Ashford Hollow. Again, a confirmed tornado, and that was that particular rotation right there around 5:30 6:30, we had that confirmed tornado. Again, that rotation continues to lift to the north and east, now making its way towards Franklinville, although you can really see not quite nearly as strong as what it was just a bit ago. But as we do kind of zoom in, again, as we take a look at this signature here, it's not nearly as strong as what it was about 20-25 minutes ago. We do still have, though, this active tornado warning for at least another couple of minutes. And of course, we continue to track this storm as well. Not quite crossing the New York State Pennsylvania line yet, but it does also still have an active tornado warning. The reason why we're showing you this storm, while it's not in Western New York yet, it is heading towards Western New York. So if you're watching, say, in and around Ripley, there's that rotation right along the 90 there. So it is heading in that general direction. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning as of right now for that particular storm cell. So let's go ahead and dive in. Buffalo, again, this is not a weather impact alert for Buffalo. It is south. There's the active weather that made its way through Cattaraugus County, now pushing into portions of western Allegheny County. So Franklinville, the worst of the weather, has made its way through. Again, now lifting into especially areas of northeastern Allegheny County and through northern Allegheny County into southern Livingston County. We do still have that active tornado warning with that particular cell, but it's only for about another 2 minutes as we do travel into northern Pennsylvania. This is McKean County dealing with no severe warnings at the moment, but definitely some nasty thunderstorms making their way through. These are all going to be pushing into areas of Potter County. So if you're watching, say, and around Cotter Sports, conditions will also be deteriorating there. And again, there's that cell, that particular tornado warning right there, Erie, Pennsylvania, and the severe thunderstorm warning that was issued for that cell as it does continue to lift to the northeast. We'll have to see if it continues to kind of hold together, but there are the active warnings. We are watching this here in central Pennsylvania. Again, if those cells do hold together, we will likely see some more warnings here across portions of McKean and Potter County here over the next little bit. These storms, along with producing damaging winds, whether it's from a tornado or straight line winds, are also producing some pretty good hail, as we've seen reports of over inch-size hail. I've seen some pictures, hail that's about that big. That's almost ping pong ball size hail. So these storms certainly mean business. Good news, again, just within the last couple of minutes, and I'm going to stick with you here for at least a little bit longer because we're going to see if any of these warnings are continued. But at the moment, you can see it right there. We no longer have that red polygon. So that tornado warning, which again, where we did have an official tornado in and around Ashford Hollow, that tornado warning was allowed to expire. Kind of coming back here for you, just taking a look at some of the relative velocities. And again, you can see we really don't have that signature, but we are still tracking this. So Scott and Mary Alice, I mean, at the moment, we no longer have a tornado warning that is in place. But of course, these storms, we're going to continue to be tracking here over the next little bit. And if we do see any more active tornado warnings within our viewing area, of course, we'll be right back at you with wall-to-wall coverage. Jen is going to be up in a little bit, providing you with another update.
All right, Dan and Jen, great job. Thank you so much for that. Everybody, as we're coming on the air, as you just heard, a tornado warning just expired. Areas including Machias, Lime Lake, and Franklinville, and a tornado did actually touch down in Ashford. There was heavy rain and thunderstorms moving into our area, and looks like it could make for a messy evening.
Yeah, quite an active day, that is for sure. And thank you to both of our meteorologists tonight. And with more rain on the way, don't forget to download the 2 on Your Side app. That is where you will find live radar like our meteorologists use all day long, the 7-day forecast and breaking news alerts right there in the palm of your hand. It is free to download on your smartphone's app store. Want to get right to weather again. Another very active day of weather.
Apparently another tornado warning. Meteorologist Jen Stanonis is standing by. What's the latest, Jen?
Yeah, guys, we have another one. Tornado warning now in effect, as you can see, in northern Pennsylvania for that northwestern corner of Potter County. That goes until 6:30 p.m. So we're continuing to track this now. This thunderstorm that's moving through there. So we've had another tornado warning. We had one in Cattaraugus County near Ashford, and now we're tracking this one near Shingle House. So this thunderstorm, radar indicated some rotation within this storm cell that continues to move slowly to the east and northeast at about 15 miles per hour. So this is what we're continuing to monitor and track. We could also be dealing with, of course, those damaging winds, the large hail, as we're seeing some flooding rains too out of some of these severe storms as we continue to monitor this. So this particular storm, if you are there in that area of that northwestern corner of Potter County, that's what we're continuing to monitor as it continues to shift off to the northeast. I'm going to step out a moment and just zoom in here for you so we can monitor the conditions here as we continue to track this tornado warning for northwestern Potter County. So as you can see right now, Millport and along the 44 Pleasant Valley, we're still dealing with potentially that rotation, that potentially rotating severe thunderstorm as we're continuing to monitor the conditions locally. There's a lot of instability in place, so it is capable. There's potential of these storms as they come through producing tornadoes. So as I'm looking up right now at the latest report here from this tornado warning, so it continues to move to the northeast. There is radar indication of this rotation of this tornado. No, this is the tornadic thunderstorm is mainly remaining over rural areas of northwestern Potter County. As you can see, that live update as it continues to shift to the northeast. So Crystal is in the path of this severe storm that's capable of producing a tornado. Also, as we zoom in here, you can see 11 Mile, Oswego, as this storm right along the 344. So this is something that we'll continue to closely monitor as it is shifting off to the northeast and potentially clipping into the southern portion of Allegheny County. So I'll put a tracker on this and we can continue to track this for you. This tornadic severe thunderstorm that's continuing to move across northwestern Potter County. So there you go, as it continues to make its way off to the northeast. It's expected to move into Pikeville, Allentown, Wellsville, Hallsport, and continue to move to the northeast from there. So if this holds together, we've seen kind of these pulsing storms where they potentially drop a weak tornado or potentially a funnel cloud, and then they do weaken. So this is something we're just going to continue to monitor. Dan and I have been here for the last many hours. We'll continue into the overnight too for the rest of this evening and continue to monitor conditions as we still have a severe thunderstorm watch that goes well into the evening hours, mid to later evening into early overnight. So this is something that we'll continue to watch. I wanted to just zoom out here and show you what else we have going on as well. Northern Chautauqua County, we also do have a severe thunderstorm warning on this county. Northern Chautauqua County, we are continuing to track a severe storm moving through there, through Westfield, Portland, Mayville, some very heavy rain expected, and we're going to continue to monitor this. And it's also shifting through north of Ripley, Sherman, dealing with the severe thunderstorm with some very heavy rain, potentially damaging winds and some hail. So we're going to continue to track these storms. We're going to go back over here because there's that severe thunderstorm watch for southern tier and into northern Pennsylvania till 10 p.m. So we're going to continue to see that the air mass capable of producing some of these severe storms with the hail, with damaging winds and flooding rains. But the thing is too, we have wind shear in place. So we could also see some of these spin ups like we've been continuing to monitor through portions of the southern tier with the tornado warning through the central Cattaraugus County. And now we continue to track that tornado warning for that northwestern corner of Potter County. So I just want to zoom in here again for you. And there's that latest on the warning that continues until 6:30 p.m. and we'll continue to track these conditions as we are still seeing this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. Now this is radar indicated, and this is continuing to move off to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour. Now, this is capable of producing not only a tornado, but damaging winds associated with it as well, and some large hail. And also winds in excess of about 60 miles per hour, and very heavy rain. Some flood issues is something else we'll also continue to monitor. So as we continue to track this, I wanted to take you to this right now, kind of a wider shot here. So that's that severe storm we're continuing for that northwestern corner of Potter County. We also have that severe thunderstorm warning as we zoom in here for Chautauqua County, northern Chautauqua County, and that's until 6:45 p.m. So There are many storms that we're continuing to monitor and track, and we've had already a history of some of these storms producing large hail. Jamestown getting reported around an inch size hail, quarter size hail. Also, we had trees reported down in the Jamestown area. So we're continuing to monitor these because we're seeing them pulsing, and at times they will be seeming to weaken, but then they also intensify as well. So this is what we're continuing to track, and this is just an evolving situation. And Dan is here too, because we've been watching these storms. I mean, even just a couple hours ago, we were seeing a little rotation, and now we've seen these warnings now coming into effect, including that tornado warning in Potter County.
Yeah, the atmosphere, Jen, is just conducive, especially for these little spin-ups. We're not seeing any kind of massive supercell kind of thunderstorms, but you get these storms, and they get enough of this rotation to potentially spin up these weak tornadoes. And again, we've had a radar confirmed tornado already across portions of Cattaraugus County. There have not been any truly ground reports yet, but a radar confirmed tornado. And again, as of right now, that warning in Cattaraugus County, that was allowed to expire. That storm has weakened, but it's this storm cell that is making its way through Potter County. That's where we now have the active tornado warning for another 9 minutes. And we also have this severe thunderstorm warning until 6:45. If you remember, this was the storm that we were tracking not that long ago that also had a tornado warning issued with it as it was making its way along the 90 there near Erie, Pennsylvania. That storm cell has weakened considerably, but nonetheless, some extremely heavy rain, frequent cloud to ground lightning out of that activity. We'll have to keep an eye on some of that right there. That's going to be moving towards areas in and around Findlay, Peak and Peak area. That storm will also be making its way into portions of Chautauqua County. But again, it's off to the south and east, especially here. It's that cell right there that potentially does have that tornado. And even this one actually looks a little bit more impressive with this latest radar kind of scope moving around. You could already see the frequent cloud to ground lightning that we are seeing out of this activity. But again, this is northern Potter County, so in northern Pennsylvania. There's Pleasant Valley. That storm just made its way overhead, pretty much in the forest right now, but it is lifting to the north and east, and it is heading towards areas of Allegheny County. So especially if you're watching in and around Wellsville, that's where conditions are going to continue to deteriorate. And as I do put, again, this is storm relative velocity. We're taking a look at the airflow within this storm. This lets us know if we are seeing any kind of rotation. So again, where we see the green, that's air flowing towards the radar site. Red, that is air flowing away from the radar site. So it's right here. You get that couplet, that rotation in the atmosphere that the radar can pick up, and there it is. We can make it out. The question is, does that rotation make its way down to the surface? When that, of course, happens, that's when we do have a tornado. But nonetheless, this storm is rotating, and whether it's producing a tornado or not, these storms have had a history of producing some wind damage, whether it's straight line wind damage or a potential weak tornado. And again, getting back into areas of Chautauqua County, so we're tracking some of this stormy weather as it's making its way, especially across northern Chautauqua County. This is where we do have an active severe thunderstorm warning. Although, again, as we get these latest updates, not quite looking too impressive. But I do want to mention this. You kind of see that little kind of signature right here. You see how the radar is curved like so? That is what we call a bow echo. That is a classic signature of some pretty good straight line winds. So whether we're seeing a potential tornado out of some of this activity or straight line winds, those straight line winds are likely strong enough to also potentially do some damage. So again, we've been tracking these tornado warnings here since about during the 5 o'clock hour, roughly around 5:30 is when we started seeing the tornado warnings start going into effect and getting back to where we do have this active tornado warning. Again, northern Potter County, it is getting ready to move into areas of New York. In fact, part of the storm is already moving into Allegheny County. Where we do have the rotation, though, is still in extreme northern Potter County. But again, if you are watching, especially into areas of Allegheny County right here, this is the weather's going to continue to deteriorate, and whether it's Wellsville and eventually up towards Alfred, Independence, these are the areas you need to take cover. Be smart about this. You do not want to get outside and take pictures because that's potentially where you can get yourself into trouble. So find that interior room, lowest level of the house, if you are downwind of this particular storm cell. So we have kind of two rounds here, Jen. We got the one that is still producing a tornado warning in northern Potter County. We'll see what happens here into Allegheny County here over the next little bit. This round is going to clear here pretty quickly, but we still have this batch of heavy rain that's going to be sliding on through. And keep in mind, this is now potentially the third round of heavy rain that we have also seen today. So that's the other kind of the triple threat of this is the flood threat out of this, because we are looking at round 3 of potentially heavy rain across areas of the southern tier. So I think that's something we'll continue to monitor not only over the next little bit, but really over the next couple of hours. So yeah, Jen, certainly going to be an active evening here, whether it's the severe thunderstorm warning, the tornado warning, or also that potential for some flooding.
Yeah, weather impact alert, as we've been saying, continues well into through the mid to late evening hours, and most of this severe weather is south, and that's where we still have that severe thunderstorm watch for the southern tier counties into northern Pennsylvania. Goes until 10 p.m. So I want to take you through kind of regroup here on all of these active weather alerts we have. So Chautauqua County, Potter County seeing current weather alerts, including the severe thunderstorm warning that continues to cover that northern portion of Chautauqua County. That goes until 6:45 p.m. We will track that thunderstorm, severe storm in a moment. Also, of course, this tornado warning that continues for that northwestern portion of Potter County. So this is continuing severe thunderstorms moving through, not only capable of producing damaging winds and hail, but potentially some weak tornadoes. So I wanted to zoom in here and show you the relative velocity. Dan and I have been covering this a lot tonight. You can see the green toward the radar, red indicates winds away. So you can see that tightening there just south of Millport and along the 44. So this is that thunderstorm, severe storm we're continuing to monitor as we put that radar on. And you can see it is shifting pretty quickly off to the northeast. So majority of it now heading toward Crystal, the heaviest rain, and into Alma and Allentown. And we're extending to see that wide area of also heavy rain and hail extending into southern Allegheny County. So also wanted to note that severe thunderstorm warning for northern Chautauqua County that continues for the very heavy rain right now moving through Westfield and also through Dunkirk. So Sherman also seeing that, and we could see out of this storm some large hail. We've already had reports of quarter-size hail. These storms capable of producing that, also damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. So we'll zoom in here and we'll put a tracker on this batch of thunderstorms, severe storms moving through there. And then we're going to zoom in and also put a tracker, and we're going to start here with this thunderstorm with heavy rain and some hail headed toward Mayville right now, in Stockton and Portland, and also into Dunkirk. And I also wanted to show you as we head into zooming out here,